My husband was always kind to everyone, and my parents loved him too. I have a sister who is very focused on her career. My husband got along well with her, even though she was always busy with work. But recently, his job got much busier. He started coming home late and working on his days off. It seemed like he was in charge of a team and couldn't stop checking his phone because he needed to stay in touch with them. Looking back, people might have thought something was off, but I didn't suspect anything. I was just worried about my husband's health. My sister, who lived alone, needed to move because of her new job and wanted to buy furniture for her new place. I planned to take her shopping in my car, but on that Saturday, my boss called me in for work. It was the only day off my sister had. As I tried to figure out what to do, I remembered that my husband was off work that day. Even though he had been very busy, I decided to ask him if he could help. He agreed to help out and said, "It might be a bit awkward with your sister, but it's fine. My car is in the shop, so can I use yours?" I was thankful for his help and went to my office to handle the issue. It was the first time my husband and sister were out alone together, so I wondered how they were doing and if they had found the right furniture. After finishing up at work, it was dark, and I pulled out my phone to arrange a dinner with my husband and sister. That's when I got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, am I speaking to John's family?" It was a stranger. "Yes, I'm his wife. This is the police. Your husband has been in an accident." A police officer called to tell me that my husband's car had crashed and both he and a woman passenger were unconscious. I don't remember much about what I did after that, but I rushed to the hospital. I gave my name to the emergency receptionist and was taken to the ICU. Through the glass, I saw my husband hooked up to tubes and covered in bandages. I was very worried about him. My mother came from far away, and we spent a tense night together. The police then gave us details about the accident. They said John was driving on a clear road when another car ran a red light and hit him. The other driver was also badly hurt and was in the same hospital. The driver claimed that John's car seemed to be acting oddly before the crash, and the police were looking into whether my husband might have fallen asleep while driving. A few days later, my husband and sister woke up, and the doctors ran some tests. My mother and I were told that while they wouldn't die, they would likely have some disabilities. Even so, we were relieved they were alive and hoped they'd improve with rehab. We didn't tell them about the possible disabilities and focused on keeping their spirits up. My mother looked after my sister, and I took care of my husband. At first, my husband was in shock and felt unwell. He worried about the trouble he caused for me, my mother, and my sister. Over time, though, he began to change. Frustrated by his leg that wasn't working properly, the hospital treatments, and having to quit his job, he became increasingly irritable and couldn't manage his frustration. I kept visiting the hospital because I wanted to support my husband and understood how he was feeling. One day, a police detective came by and told me he found out something about the accident. It turned out that the brake oil in my car had leaked, which might have caused the car to act up before the crash. The woman who hit my car was also in bad shape, and her mother came to apologize. It was the first time I met her. After that, my husband's anger towards me increased. He was upset that I could move around while he couldn't and was annoyed that I wasn't at the hospital all the time due to my work. He started bossing me around, getting angry if I didn't meet his demands, throwing things, and complaining about his hospital room. He even complained when I went out to buy lunch for myself. His demands kept getting worse. I felt sorry for my husband, but I had to work to support us, and I was busy with tasks like dealing with the police and the hospital. I barely had time to rest. My husband's behavior was becoming too much to handle, and I felt trapped. My sister seemed just as stressed, and my mother was getting more exhausted. I heard that my sister was making even more demands on my mother, who wasn't working. When I couldn't be at the hospital, Both my husband and sister heard that they might remain paralyzed even with rehab. My sister then said, "I heard your car was leaking brake oil. You were supposed to maintain your car. Because of this, I can't work or recover, and Mom is upset. Your husband is in a bad state too. You're responsible for taking care of us for the rest of your life." My sister blamed me so harshly that I was shocked. I called my mother, who told me that my sister had been struggling mentally for a long time and that she was too tired to visit the hospital. Still worried about my husband, I went to the hospital and found him with my sister in the common room, which was nearly empty because visiting hours were almost over. My husband glared at me and said, "If you had taken the car for inspection, none of this would have happened." I've been married to my kind husband for 3 years, and we live together happily. We were very close and hoped to have children someday, but then something unexpected happened. My sister added, "You're the reason we're in this situation. The insurance will cover it, but you'll have to take care of us for the rest of your life. Don't forget that." Hearing this, I felt something snap inside me. "Since when have you become so close to my sister?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "You don't visit often, and your mom told your sister she could stay for a while. Since neither of us can leave or walk, why shouldn't we talk to your husband?" It felt like my husband and sister were teaming up against me. "I know, right?" I said, trying to be sarcastic. "You guys hadn't seen each other for a long time before the accident, right?" "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about you taking care of us." My husband ignored my question, and my sister didn't even look at me but nodded in agreement when my husband said she would be taken care of for the rest of their lives. I didn't really expect an answer, but I kept asking, hoping they might understand how I felt. "I wonder if the person whose car hit you is getting better now," I said. "How would I know?" she snapped. "She ran a red light. It's unbelievable." "Exactly. You can't imagine how scary it was. We really need to get some compensation from her. I was so close to a promotion too. If I hadn't stepped in, they'd just keep complaining." I think it's time to reveal the truth. "There's something I need to tell you." "What is it?" "I had my car inspected before the accident." "Really? Then the dealer should be sued. They should have known about the brake oil leak." "I know, right?" "So you know." Right after the accident, the police called me. They wanted to check what caused the accident, so they asked to see my drive recorder. But that old recorder doesn't record sound and only starts recording after the accident, so it's useless." "I see. It's just like I thought. You didn't know I got a new drive recorder?" My sister looked surprised. "What?" "I also installed a camera inside the car." Her face went pale. "You know, new drive recorders start recording with even a small shake of the car." The police contacted me and said they saw the data. My husband looked confused, and my sister looked so pale she almost collapsed. "You were up to something, weren't you?" I asked her. "What do you mean? Did you do something to the car?" My husband was panicking. "And why do you talk to my sister like she's your girlfriend?" "Oh." My husband stopped talking. I had mentioned earlier that the new recorder could start recording with a slight vibration. So many intimate moments between them were captured. I was so embarrassed when the police asked if it was my sister who was in the car with my husband. My husband's face went white. "You two have been having an affair all this time?" I was completely fooled. Not knowing what to do, my husband started blaming my sister. Mary isn't the only one at fault here. Just then, the mother of the woman who crashed into my car arrived at the hospital room. I had invited her to come. "Don't you have anything to say to her?" My sister was shocked by the woman's sudden appearance. "Who's this?" "She's the mother of the woman who crashed into you. She should be the one paying for all this." Seeing the woman in tears, my husband stopped talking. She's the mother of the woman who hit you. She's also the mother of the woman who was your victim. Her name is Alice. I'm sure you know who she is." When my husband heard the woman's name, he went completely pale, and my sister started to panic. "What? What's happening? Do you know the woman who was driving the car?" "So they knew it was your car and still crashed into it." "Who is she?" My husband looked lost for words. I decided to explain to my sister. She was having an affair with John. He promised to divorce me, but he never did. When Alice claimed she was pregnant with his child, John told her to get an abortion. After that, she couldn't reach him and wanted to get revenge on me. Wait, so that means... Right, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I can't believe I let this ruin my life, my sister said, groaning. The truth is, no matter how much you cry or scream, there's nothing you can do about it, I said firmly. Oh, so this didn't happen to an innocent person, I continued, pouring out all my feelings. You were having an affair with Mary, who was trying to hurt or even kill me by messing with my car's brake oil, but she ended up getting into an accident herself. I'm the real victim here. I would have tried to work things out if you had apologized and told me the truth while you were in the hospital, but you never showed any remorse. Instead, you treated me badly. Remember how we signed divorce papers right after we got married? I never thought I'd use them, but I've filed them today. We're officially divorced. Goodbye. After saying everything I needed to, I left the quiet, dark hospital feeling relieved to have finally expressed my anger. My mother, however, was deeply shocked by the truth. She was upset not only by my sister's betrayal but also by the burden of having to care for her disabled daughter alone. Even though I had cut ties with John and Mary, I couldn't leave my mother to handle everything by herself. So, I spoke with the person responsible for the accident, apologized, and asked her to provide compensation to my sister to help ease my mother's burden. 2 years have passed since then. My husband and I are divorced, and I'm living alone. Our divorce surprised my coworkers since John and I were seen as a close couple. Afterward, many men started approaching me for advice. I thought it was just a phase where divorced women seem more appealing to men, but I still had my ex-husband in my mind and couldn't bring myself to date anyone. Instead, I focused on my career. I studied hard for a certification exam and joined an online business school that I could attend after work. I never thought I'd be interested in something like this when I was married, and I never envied my sister's career. But here I am, aiming for a career myself. Life is strange, I thought. Meanwhile, my ex-husband moved back in with his parents but is seen as a burden by them. His relatives blame him for his bad behavior and how he treated me. I hear he's struggling mentally, acting violently, and causing a lot of trouble for those around him. My sister also moved back in with our parents but ended up mentally ill and self-centered. My exhausted mother used my sister's savings and the accident compensation to put her in a care home. She asked me about it first, and I didn't have any objections, so I told her to do what she thought was best. If I hadn't realized what was happening at that time, I might have been stuck taking care of both of them forever. I never wanted that. I passed the certification exam I was aiming for and moved to a department where I could use my skills. I got close to the teacher from the online business school, and we're about to get married. He's not just kind to everyone but very kind to me. When I come home late from work, he comes home early to cook dinner for us. I cherish this small happiness, and I look forward to coming home to him.